Hello and welcome to the Gratitude and Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mittich. I am an actor, a yoga instructor, a former ballet dancer, but above all, I am a wildly curious person. So I've spent the past several years researching and studying human behavior, why we do what we do, who and what we innately are, what my purpose is on this planet. And I'm here to share the insights and the tools that curiosity has led me to uncover, in hopes of helping you to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of your own life, and in hopes of inspiring you to become the person that you have always wanted to be. So pull up a chair or go for a walk, hop on that treadmill or go for a drive, and join me as I explore what it is to be a human being in this lifetime. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Okay, today I'm diving into the importance of self-care and rest. These two things that I'm also realizing are different from one another, and how important they are in the work that you do on yourself and in how you show up to the world. So I've had quite a few interviews this season on the podcast so far with specialists that all talk about the fact that most of us, I will say, are 1 degree away from, if not already at, burnout. And burnout is a really big thing right now. There's a reason that people are really diving into the science behind burnout and the effects that it has on our lives, like overwhelm, anxiety, depression, just to name a few. But burnout's a real thing. Right? We live in a world that's very go, 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 go. I talk about this a lot. That's very like hustle, grind, get it. And we very rarely take enough time to actually unplug, self-care, and rest. So this past week has been really, really incredible for me. I've been on this incredible high of creativity. I got hit with a bunch of inspiration, and I've been creating content, creating different things, and living from such inspired action. But even in that inspired action, it's been very go, 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 go. Like I wake up, I have my coffee and I journal, I do that, but then like I'm at my laptop some days by like 8 a.m. and I'm writing away and creating and learning things. And it's all so fulfilling. And it's all so creatively expressive and satisfying. But then I got to today, and today's Sunday, by the way, and I got to today and I was like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Why am I so tired? And at first I started overanalyzing, because that's what I do sometimes. Of like, maybe it's because I had some wine last night, or maybe it's because this, maybe it's because that. But honestly, it's because even though I've been operating from a place of creativity and joy, I'm still moving so fast, and my body and my brain need a break. They just need a break. I think for entrepreneurs, especially who are, focusing on creating something, this can be a very tricky thing to navigate. Is how do you keep the momentum going that you have, and like you keep moving, especially when you're hit with creative downloads, but also not force yourself into burnout. For the record, to clarify, I don't feel burnt out at all. I'm just tired today. There's a difference. I've been at burnout before. And when I was there, I was operating from a place of like massive anxiety. And I was exhausted all the time. And what ended up happening was I was very reactive in my life and in my relationships. Because for me, when I'm tired, my reactivity comes out. Because when I'm exhausted, I don't have the awareness that I have when I'm rested. When I'm exhausted, it's really hard for me to be present, because our minds function from such a place of survival when you're tired that your mind is literally, even more than it usually does, gripping for things to hold on to. And those things are usually based in fear. That's how our minds operate. And so this is how negative spirals happen too, right? Is especially when we're exhausted, especially when we don't prioritize self-care, we can get lost and like a tunnel vision on things. And we don't have the ability to step back and get that bird's eye perspective of a situation or an event or a relationship. This is why self-care and rest are really important. This is why they are the cure to burnout. And the biggest thing that keeps us from doing it, honestly, is time. We just don't give ourselves the physical time. We either feel that there's a pressure of time, that we have to get this thing in by this point, or this created by this, or get this done. And it's either timelines we've put on ourselves or other people have put on us, depending on your job, depending on just how your life is. So time is the biggest thing. And sometimes it takes scheduling in actual self-care time consciously and intentionally and upholding that integrity to it. Sometimes, maybe we feel really good and we're like, no, I don't actually need that self-care. I'm actually okay. And it's good. But here's the thing I've noticed. The same way that you do daily deposits of your work on yourself, of like whatever you're working on yourself, if you're looking to add more gratitude, it's like, what are the daily deposits of gratitude? What are the daily deposits of whatever you're trying to create more of in your life, right? So it's the same thing with the self-care and the rest. What are the deposits, the regular scheduled deposits that you're giving yourself to rest and to self-care? It's a key. And even again, and look, I'm here, I'm with you, and I'm telling you that sometimes I don't do it either, right? Like I get so caught up in all the good things, but those good things are still stimulation. Okay? And this is what it comes down to. So our brains are addicted to stimulation. I have a really great episode with Dr. Natasha Kovacevic in season 2. She's a computational neuroscientist, and we kind of dive into the fact that our brains are addicted to any kind of stimulation. That's why instant gratification is such a thing right now. That's why we're all addicted to social media, to devices. It's why we find it really hard to sit in silence and stillness, unplugged, alone, because our brains are just being fed with things and bombarded with distractions everywhere we go. And so even the good things, even the inspiring things are still stimulation, right? They may not be distractions in the sense of like they distract you from your path or your career or your purpose, but they still take you away from being present, I guess, at the end of the day is what it is, right? Our minds will keep us from being in the present moment. This is also why rest is really important. Okay, so now that I've talked about all that, let's actually dive into self-care and rest and how I do think that they're two separate things that trickle into each other. So let's start with self-care. For me, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's showing care for yourself. So this is going to be different for everyone, and it is for everyone. And self-care is also certain things that you do that prioritizes yourself. I think a lot of us are so used to prioritizing other people, prioritizing projects, prioritizing work, prioritizing this, that, and these people, but we don't actually turn that mirror around on ourselves and prioritize us, which, sounds like a really great thing on paper and sounds like a really great thing when I talk about it. But always operating from that place of putting everybody else and everything else ahead of yourself actually depletes you. And then you're functioning from a place of depletion and duty and obligation. So it's really important to prioritize yourself. What are the things that you love to do that allow you to relax? Or that allow you just to pamper yourself? Or allow you to just have time for yourself? So self-care for me, my biggest thing for self-care is a bubble bath. I love bubble baths so much. Just like really, really hot bubble bath, put on some meditation music and just turn off my notifications, shut down my phone, and I will sit in that bubble bath for 2 hours if I'm able to. There was a time where I had a bubble bath every day. And I'll tell you this, I was so present and so creatively fulfilled and inspired at that time in my life. I'm not going to lie, when I finish this podcast episode, I'm going to go have a bubble bath because I told myself today would be a self-care day. So bubble baths, but also sometimes getting a really good workout in is self-care. Yes, Working out is part of my normal, regular routine. But even this past week, as I've been like so creatively inspired, so my creativity hits me the most in the morning. And I also really love to work out in the morning, but sometimes I just can't do both because physical time. And also the creativity is like fueling through me that I just need to sit at my computer and write. And so my workouts this past week, they've been good. They've been different. I haven't been able to do like my power weight, body weight workouts. Been mainly yoga, which is still amazing. Gentle yoga, more power yoga. But my workouts kind of got put on the back burner. And so part of my self-care is like allowing myself to have a good workout when I feel energized too. So this morning I was like, I'm going to have a really good workout because I need that. But I was like, damn, I'm tired. So instead I stretched and I did gentle yoga and I moved my body because that's what I needed that day. So again, self-care is very intuitive, but allow yourself to sit with yourself and be like, what do I need today? Another thing I love is like, I'll go for massages. I will pamper myself, get a manicure, get a pedicure, or do it yourself. But just allow yourself to prioritize what you want and what you need. It's not just about need, right? It's not just about what do I need to survive. It's what would I want to do today? What do I want? What am I craving? And if you're not sure, set a timer for 10 minutes. Ask yourself, what do I want and what do I need today? And then sit in silence for those 10 minutes. And I guarantee if you're able to just get in touch with like your innerness, if you're able to get in touch with your body, the answer will come to you. The other thing about self-care is, for people like me who are very passionate about working on themselves, about personal development, and always striving and working to be the best version of ourselves, go read a book that isn't a self-help or personal development or spirituality or enlightenment book. Go read a Nora Roberts novel or something along those lines. Go watch a movie that has nothing to do with bettering yourself. I would not recommend a movie that like stimulates you in a certain way. Like for me, I'll just say it. I wouldn't go watch a horror movie or a movie that's full of gore and blood. Like that's not self-care for me. That might be for some people, to each their own. But go watch a movie, like go watch a rom-com, go do something that allows your brain to be stimulated in a way, because it might still need some stimulation, but at least the stimulation isn't work-related or you-related. It's just there. And so this is the difference to me between self-care and rest. So self-care is actually doing physical things that care for yourself, that you want to do, that you feel called, that you need. Rest is shutting it all off. Rest is shutting off the movies and the TV shows. Rest is shutting off the books. Rest is shutting off the music. Rest is sleep, naps, silence. Meditation sometimes isn't even restful for me because, so many people think that the point of meditation is to get like this inner silence and stillness. And absolutely, that is totally a goal at times and an experience at times. However, that's also perfectionism sneaking in. The exercise of meditation in itself is to become aware of what your internal thought process is. So sometimes meditation isn't rest for me. Meditation is how I get quiet to witness what thoughts are going through my head and what I am spiraling on. And it's in meditation that I realize I need to self-care and rest. But meditation itself is not always rest. It absolutely can be at times, but not always. It's so important to shut it all down. Okay, I use this analogy a lot. Think of an athlete, right? An athlete in the exercise, in the workout part, is when they're tearing down the tissue. They're tearing down the muscle. It's in the rest part that their proteins and the fibers are actually building back together. This is why rest is vital. Rest is vital for your creativity. Rest is vital so that you're not reactive. Rest is vital because it allows you to create a clean slate from which then you can build things. When you can actually let the quiet and the silence and the stillness come in, I guarantee you will find whatever answers you're looking for whatever questions that you have. When we're always stimulated, when we're always bombarded, our minds are on a hamster wheel. And again, it doesn't have to be a hamster wheel of stress and negativity. It can be a hamster wheel of inspiration and momentum and fulfillment. But either way, you're on a hamster wheel. You have to step off of it to pull yourself back to a more bird's eye perspective and see where things maybe need changing, where things need to be implemented. Without rest, you get that tunnel vision. You get locked into something. You can get tunnel vision locked into anxiety, or you can get tunnel vision locked into like inspired action, positivity, hope, all that good stuff. So it is both, right? There's any extreme of anything isn't good. To me, it isn't good. Any extreme is not peace. And at the end of the day, peace is what it's all about, right? In rest, you find your peace. In the stillness, you find your peace. In the silence, you find your peace. And if you don't find it right away, you're going to find all the things that are keeping you from experiencing it. This is also how you recalibrate your nervous system. Stress isn't always bad. It's just not, right? Stress is good to a point. Stress is good. It keeps us growing. It keeps us pushing ourselves, pushing our boundaries. Again, muscle stress is good at times, but then we have to allow ourselves to rebuild it. So stress, not always the bad guy. The bad guy is the fact that we have let stress become our baseline for the most part. So our cortisol is naturally higher, and our poor nervous system is just like begging for some kind of equilibrium. This is why the rest is also important. It's only by allowing yourself to rest that you can offer your nervous system some equilibrium. If you're always go, 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 you're just adding on top of that stress cycle. Going back to self-care for a moment, it's also self-love, right? I think self-love is one of the greatest journeys you can ever experience. And I think it's one of the most important ones. There's that saying, right? That it's like no one can love you until you love yourself. And though do I believe that? Yes. And do I have some issues with that? Yes, I do. Because I do think other people can love you. And, that saying too kind of gets you caught up in like the perfectionism of like, I can only love myself before somebody else. Anyway, that's a tangent for another time. But self-love is really important. It really is. And self-care and rest are two of the best ways I know to show self-love. So is mental discipline. For the record, I think the greatest form of self-love is mental discipline. And it takes mental discipline to self-care and to rest, as I'm demonstrating, right? Because we don't give ourselves time to do that. But self-care, rest, self-love. Because you're doing things, especially in the self-care portion, that you love. Allow yourself to do the things that you love, especially if you're operating from a place of fear and worry and doubt and anxiety right now in your life. If you're experiencing a lot of that, let me tell you first and foremost, I've been there. Really, I truly have. It's why gratitude is my saving grace. Because when I'm living an intentional, grateful life, I don't experience nearly as much anxiety. To think that we'll never experience these things is also just perfectionism sneaking in, for the record. But second, that does not have to be your experience of this life. No matter what's going on. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know things I've been through in my life. And I don't say that from a place of victimhood. Never do. They're just facts. I've been through some shit. Anxiety, doubt, fear, and worry do not have to be your baseline. That is just the hamster wheel. And that is just you probably being at a place of burnout. No matter what's going on, the quote-unquote cost of taking time to learn to love yourself and to prioritize yourself and to self-care, and most importantly, to rest, the cost of doing that is not going to be nearly as high as the cost of living a life of burnout and the mental, physical, and emotional effects you will have in your life now and later on. Stress builds up. Stress builds up in our physical bodies as well. Negativity, fear, worry, it all builds up. It's all energy, right? It's all energy expenditure, or the opposite, not expending this energy. And so rest, shutting it all off, allowing yourself to be, allowing yourself to sleep as much as you need to sleep one day, allowing yourself to do those things will have a very profound effect on your life, especially if you're operating, like I said, from that hamster wheel of anxiety, worry, doubt, stress, negativity. Sub in whatever word works for you, whatever word resonates for you. You and your brain deserve quiet. They deserve peace. They deserve presence. When we don't give ourselves rest and self-care, we don't really live a present life. This is also why these two things are so important, right? Presence is what it's all about, because then you're actually here for every moment. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up with that for today. Go do something for yourself today, something that allows you to slow down for a moment. There's a saying that I love, sometimes you need to slow down to speed up. If you don't slow down, if you don't take time for yourself, you're not going to be able to speed up. You're not going to be able to speed up because you're going to be burnt out. So do something today that is self-care for you. I am going to go have a bubble bath in a little bit, but I do want to end with something that I am grateful for today. And that is for my awareness that I need to slow down at times. And for this really nice balance that I'm finding between the inspired action and the rest. I'm very grateful for that. And that is also my growth. So a few episodes now, my gratitude and my growth have been the same. And that's because I'm really intentional with finding gratitude in growth. I think that's how we navigate the growth with grace, is by finding gratitude for it. So I'm so grateful for all of this. And I'm so grateful for all of you for tuning in this week. Thank you so much. As always, stay grateful and keep growing. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you liked what you heard, hit that subscribe button and maybe send it to someone who you think might need to hear today's message. And let me know how everything's sitting. Leave me a rating and a review and let me know what's resonating with you. What do you want to hear more of? What's your favorite episode and why? And I hope you find your way back here to another episode, another time, as we keep exploring this beautiful and wild thing that we all call life.